This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Well, Dorian is expected to become a major hurricane by Friday afternoon with winds of 115 miles per hour. Forecasters predict it could strengthen even more to possibly a Category 4 hurricane, taking aim at Florida. Charlene Aaron has been following the story and has more. Charlene.
That's right, Wendy. Puerto Rico dodged a bullet with Dorian, but it's now on track to hit the United States, with Florida bracing for a hit. The state's governor declaring a state of emergency ahead of the storm. Residents up and down Florida's east coast are preparing, stocking up on supplies like water, generators, and food. In some places, store shelves are empty. Drivers are swarming gas stations, waiting in long lines to fill up before Dorian makes landfall. Joe Bistardi of Weather Bell Analytics has been staying on top of the storm. He shared an update during an interview on CBN.
I don't think it'll go Cat 5, but we think it's has a good shot Cat 4. If it stays small, once it makes the bend back to the west, that's when you'll see some intensification. But right now, this is heading right for the area that in our preseason forecast we said you got to look out for, outside of the Caribbean. So it's an ugly-looking situation.
And the storm is expected to make landfall on Monday anywhere from Key West, Florida to Georgia. Florida's governor says residents should prepare their homes for the storm and make sure they have 7 days worth of supplies and follow the storm's movements very closely. Wendy, back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Charlene. Well, meteorologist Mark Mancuso from AccuWeather brings us the latest on what we can expect from Dorian.
Hurricane Dorian is churning northwest. It's now north of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. It's moving northwest at about 13 miles an hour, and the top wind's 85 miles an hour, making this a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Dorian is forecast to turn more to the west with time, and it is forecast to strengthen. And by the time it gets close to the northern Bahamas and the Florida Peninsula over the holiday weekend, we could be looking at a major hurricane. Taking a look at the water vapor loop, there's a little spin right here near the Bahamas. This is an upper trough that has been drawing Dorian up towards the northwest. That will push off to the southwest, and as high pressure builds to the north, that will force the turn to the northwest and then more to the west with time. So that's why this will be directed towards the northern Bahamas and towards the Florida Peninsula. And of course, the waters are very warm. And over the next couple of days, we've been battling dry air with this system. There's less dry air. The wind shear is weak, and there's really no significant land interactions. So that's another reason why we're expecting intensification. In the near term, for the central and southeast Bahamas, the main concern will be the rough surf. But of course, when it gets closer to the northern Bahamas and Florida, it does look like the system is capable of quite a bit of damage.
Well, wildfires continue to rage in the world's largest tropical rainforest, the Amazon. World leaders have urged Brazil to take action against the fires, which some have called an international crisis. 7 nations pledged $20 million at last week's G7 summit to help handle those blazes. More than 70,000 fires have damaged the forest, with half of those just in the last month alone. Environmentalists and experts worry about the lasting impacts, as the Amazon produces up to 20% of the world's oxygen. And joining us now to talk about the global impact of the Amazon fires is scientist Dr. Hugh Ross, with Reasons to Believe, an educational institute that promotes science and faith. Dr. Ross, thanks for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, Dr. Ross, how worried should we be about the impact of the fires in the Amazon?
Well, we should be worried. Right now, about 3 football fields a minute are being burned up in the Amazon. If that continues, we're looking at a real catastrophe. However, those fires are put out quickly, I think we can recover.
Some scientists say the fires are pushing the rainforest to a tipping point and will hasten global climate change. Do you agree with that?
Well, the real worry is that the jungle could be converted to a savanna. And if that happens, it's going to be almost impossible to bring it back to a jungle again. And if it's a savanna, rainfall is going to drop catastrophically. Moreover, you're not going to have as much oxygen produced or carbon dioxide taken to the atmosphere. So that's the real concern. If steps can be taken to prevent it from turning into a savanna, that would be good news.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, many of these fires are set to make room for agriculture or other development. Should the rainforests be left alone and not cleared for these uses?
Well, I wrote an article on our reasons.org website recently making the point that the best way to manage the Amazon economically is to cut down the virgin trees and replace them with new growth trees, because research shows that there's a window of time when trees are growing most rapidly, and that's when they produce the most oxygen and take the most carbon dioxide of the atmosphere. And if you do the lumbering in the right way, you get a significant income source for the people there, while at the same time doing the best that you can do to stabilize the climate. That would be the way to go.
Interesting. Well, the Amazon is a jungle, basically. If left alone after a fire or a blaze like we're seeing now, how long will it take for the forest to come back?
It all depends how much is burned. I mean, again, that's why these 7 nations are saying we need to jump on this now, get these fires under control, stop people from starting new fires, because the longer we let these fires burn, the greater time it's going to take for the jungle to recover. And if too much burns, it's not going to recover ever.
So is it true 20% of the world's oxygen is generated in the Amazon, and right now we're burning oxygen, basically?
Yes, we are. And the bigger concern is that the Amazon also is a prime system for removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and that's a greenhouse gas. And so if the Amazon jungle gets destroyed or converted to a savanna, we're going to see significantly more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
All right, Dr. Hugh Ross, with reasons to believe, thanks for your insights. And I guess this is a matter for prayer as well as science today.
It is indeed.
Thank you, sir. Well, in other news, a new Trump administration rule is raising eyebrows. Citizenship will no longer be automatic for children of some U.S. military members living overseas. The new policy appears to primarily affect children of naturalized U.S. citizens serving in the armed forces who have not lived in the U.S. for a required period of time. It does not impact anyone serving who was born in the U.S. Still, the change is drawing criticism. Andy Blevins, the executive director of Modern Military Association of America, says, quote, military members already have enough to deal with, and the last thing they should have to do when stationed overseas is go through hoops to ensure their children are U.S. citizens. The policy goes into effect October 29th. A top Virginia Beach official resigns in the wake of a recent mass shooting. Dave Hansen worked for the city for 13 years, including more than 3 as city manager. He helped lead the city's response to one of the worst mass shootings in Virginia history. 12 people were gunned down by a fellow city worker 3 months ago. Family members of some of the victims criticized Hansen's response to the shooting, saying he wasn't responsive to the request for information. The City Council will name an interim manager next week. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is out. Gillibrand will not take part in the 2020 Democratic presidential race. The decision came after she failed to qualify for a debate next month in Houston. The polling basically showed her at 0%. Gillibrand's campaign run had focused around the Me Too movement, racism, and white privilege. And we'll have more on this story and others this evening on Faith Nation. You can watch it right here on the CBN News Channel. Hezbollah's deputy leader vowed to retaliate against Israel with a surprise strike, but said a new war remains unlikely. But as Chris Mitchell reports from Israel, Hezbollah's latest threat demonstrates how high tensions are in that region.
These Lebanese soldiers are shooting at what they claim are Israeli reconnaissance drones violating Lebanese airspace. While on the other side of the border, the IDF remains on high alert, and Israeli troops have created some closed military zones. 2 recent examples that a shadow war between Iran, its Middle East proxies, and Israel has come out into the open.
We are now seeing a situation in which a kind of regional conflict involving a whole series of Iranian proxies and allies, including Hezbollah, all of which threaten Israel, are basically on the brink of what could be a bad misstep for either side and could bring the region to another conflict.
Recently, Israel stopped an Iranian-led attack against the Golan Heights with killer drones. Hezbollah claims Israeli drones attacked their Beirut headquarters. and U.S. sources confirmed Israel has also attacked Shiite militias in Iraq.
And some of their warehouses have mysteriously blown up. The whole piece of the puzzle that we have to understand is that this is all part of a kind of Iranian land bridge that starts in Tehran and goes through Iraq to Syria to Lebanon.
We're challenged on three fronts, and Israel has all the right in the world to defend itself, and we will.
Former Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat and current prominent member of Prime Minister Netanyahu's Likud party says Israel is fighting for its survival.
It's very clear that Iran, that their goal is to destroy the state of Israel, the radical Islam. They're using their proxies in Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and many of the regimes, the Shiite regimes in Syria, to create infrastructure and to prepare to strike on Israel.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah to calm down. Barkat says Nasrallah should be careful.
If they start and initiate a round of violence, Israel will make sure that violence does not pay, and they will pay a heavy, heavy price. And I think Nasrallah knows that very, very well.
Hezbollah's deputy leader warned Israel to expect a calculated strike, but that he wanted to avoid a new war with Israel. But these kind of attacks are not an exact science. 13 years ago, a Hezbollah ambush on an Israeli patrol began the Second Lebanon War that lasted 34 days. Some are concerned a miscalculation could once again plunge the region into another war. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. Coming up, what's happening in the Lone Star State of Texas that might be turning the tide of conservative strongholds there? And before we go to the break, here's what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Tim Dunn is a Texas oil billionaire, a generous philanthropist, and a strong man of faith. But tragedy recently hit the Dunn family with the unexpected death of his granddaughter. In his book, Yellow Balloons, Tim writes how his faith helped him during this hard time. CBN's Jenna Browder sat down with him to talk about it.
Tim Dunn is a true success on many levels, but you wouldn't necessarily know it if you met him on the street, and he's not the type to flaunt it. Midland, Texas is his home, where he's made and continues to make his fortune in the oil business. And it's where he and his wife, Terry, raised their family.
We have 6 children and 17 grandchildren, number 18 on the way. And so we're really blessed in that respect.
His son David is a musician in Nashville, who CBN featured on the 700 Club.
Make a symphony from broken melodies. You do it beautifully.
Yet despite all of these accomplishments, there's a void at every family gathering.
Mariah was very special to us.
Due to the death of Tim's 2-year-old granddaughter.
Mariah just died in her crib, unexpectedly, without medical explanation. Just her heart stopped.
A man of deep faith, Tim asked God why.
There's only 3 things you control in life: who you trust, what you do, and how you look at things. And that choice that God gave us of how to look at things is an incredible gift, and we usually don't pay that much attention to it.
And that, in the context of Mariah's death, is the foundation of Yellow Balloons. Tim calls it a true perspective, learning to trust God and know Him through faith.
Well, Mariah only got 20 months or 22 months of that. Why does she miss out on that? I don't know the answer to that. I trust that God has an answer. I'll hear it someday. There's just some things we don't know, and we have to say, well, I have to leave that in your hands.
Tim says knowing God by faith is a unique gift and something we only get to experience in this life.
And I think we sort of think of it as a burden that we have to bear. Like, oh, someday we'll be there to see Him face to face. And that's true. Yeah, I do look forward to that. But the biblical message is, don't underestimate the incredible gift that you have of knowing God by faith, because you'll only get one shot at that, and it's in this life. And if you miss it, it never comes again. Don't miss any opportunity to know God by faith. And when you go through valleys, don't miss it. When you have the plains of routine, everyday routine, every routine is full of opportunity to trust God. Don't fall into the illusion that because this is routine, I can handle it. You can walk by faith. All of us can in that circumstance too. And then when you have the mountaintops and things are going great, that's the hardest time, because then you have the illusion that I got all this together and I don't really need any help. And that's the dangerous, because it's just not true. The reason we called it Yellow Balloons is because at Mariah's memorial service, her favorite color was yellow. And so her Mimi, my wife, wore a yellow dress, and we had yellow ribbons. And after her service, we released yellow balloons into the air.
He believes he'll see Mariah again in heaven. And until that day comes, he's making the most of the here and now.
I'm a very wealthy man in the respect of family, which is the greatest wealth you can have, I think.
Choosing a true perspective and encouraging others to do the same. One way he's doing that, giving away as many free copies of his book as he can.
Some people have a bestseller, I have a best giver. Okay, I'd love to bless people with this book.
You can get a free copy of Yellow Balloons online. We have a link on CBNnews.com. It also comes in a hard copy you can buy online and in bookstores. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Beautiful story. Thanks, Jenna. After the break, how an illegal construction project 20 years ago opened the door to some major discoveries in Israel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit CBNNewsChannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
The Temple Mount in Jerusalem has never been excavated, but an illegal construction project 20 years ago opened the door to some major discoveries. Chris Mitchell shows us the archaeological treasure trove that's called the Temple Mount Sifting Project.
In 1999, the Islamic religious authority responsible for the Temple Mount began construction on a large underground mosque. They also broke a law prohibiting unauthorized construction. During construction, they dumped tons of debris into the Kidron Valley. This pile is just a small part of the debris recovered from the Temple Mount. Over the years, the Temple Mount Sifting Project has uncovered a treasure trove of artifacts, like this piece of pottery, throughout Jerusalem's history.
The Temple Mount Sifting Project is an archaeological adventure whose purpose is to find the empirical proof of what was atop the Temple Mount thousands of years ago.
Throughout its history, more than 250,000 volunteers have worked on the Sifting Project, making it the largest archaeological project in history. Since its beginning, the project has uncovered enormous archaeological evidence.
We have, until now, approximately 500,000 finds. The vast majority of the material is from First Temple period and on, starting in the 10th century BC, which is the time of David and Solomon. And that goes hand in hand with the biblical account.
While the Sifting Project began years ago, a new phase is just beginning. Some believe the evidence from the project validates the Jewish claim and connection to the city of Jerusalem.
Here we show black and white and on nice pieces of pottery and other things that we have been here for 3,000 years. It's very simple. There's no project that shows it better than this one. It proves that everything we've said about it and thought about it and dreamt about it and prayed about it is true.
And we know where we came from, based, of course, on our faith, based, of course, on our heritage, but also based on the empirical evidence that we find about where indeed we were.
Barkai says the importance of the Temple Mount to the Jewish people and to the world is profound.
First of all, the Temple Mount is the soul, heart, and spirit of the Jewish people. It is mentioned and indicated more than 20 times in the New Testament. It is a focal point in the activity of Jesus, and it should be one of the cornerstones of Western civilization. And it is also the archaeological site #1 in the country, and probably one of the most important archaeological sites of the world.
Now they're sending out an open invitation for more to come.
People today can literally get a telegram from someone from thousands of years ago to show them where things were and what things were and where things are going for the future.
This sifting project that you can see behind us here is really going to be a major thing for people from around the world to go in and put their hands into and work through soil that came from the temple itself from some point in its history.
Come sift the dirt from 2,000 years ago, come be part of history, both what was and also what will be.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Temple Mount Sifting Project, Jerusalem.
Like fun. Well, coming up, one of the stars of the hit movie Overcomer talks about what he had to give up in Hollywood to follow Christ.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at CBNRadio.com.
Actor Cameron Arnett says he lost everything as an up-and-coming actor. He says the loss came when he chose to fully honor God with his life. Some of Arnett's big roles in the 80s and 90s included Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Miami Vice. In the film, Arnett's character says, "When you find your identity in the one who created you, it will change your whole perspective." That has been true in his real life. Arnett plays Thomas Hill. He's a blind man who found Christ in the midst of pain and chaos. His character is a mentor to Coach John Harrison, played by Alex Kendrick.
I think what people will identify with is that no matter where they've been, what they've done, the mess-ups, the breakups, the foul-ups, that there's a God that is in love with them.
At one time, Arnett's acting career was flourishing in Hollywood with some pretty big roles and more coming, but when he auditioned for a part that would require a scene with partial nudity, he declined, even when offered a body double, because he sensed God telling him people are still going to think it's you. Arnett said in a recent interview, quote, "I am a Christian first. I'm not an actor. I'm not a pastor. I am a son of God. I'm a servant of God. That is my claim to fame." Well, that is going to do it for this edition of Newswatch. You can find more on the issues you care about most at CBNNews.com. You can also watch CBN News programs anytime on our CBN News Channel. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Just email us at newswatch@cbn.com, and we'll see you next time. Bye.